Here.
Trustee Jean Garrett,
Present.
Vice President Lee,
Present.
President Tahada,
Here.
Student Trustee Pisano,
Here.
Student Trustee Abuzarea,
Here.
Student Trustee Burke,
Here.
and Student Trustee Green.
Here.
We have an approval of the agenda.
Yes, there's one change.
Okay.
On item 7A16, there's just an edit to the form. The dates have changed, and you have the correct dates in front of you.
To approve agenda with changes noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And let's see, item number 4, approval of the minutes. I do have one change to the minutes. There was, under public comment, it said that Ms. Casey spoke, see attached, and it was not attached. So let's attach her document. And with that change, can we get a motion to approve?
To approve the minutes from August 31st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications. Let's start with our student trustees. You just want to go in order? Let's start with Mr. Green from Jefferson.
Alrighty, I would like to speak on 3 things. We have our newly integrated 4x4 schedule, our removal of the majority of the bells, and our new advisory period. For the teachers I have spoken to, they expressed their praises for the 4x4 schedule due to them being able to cover a lot of topics. That's pretty cool. To fully cover topics,
Darn right it is.
explain and clarify a bunch of things in an 80-minute period versus a smaller period. Students have liked it because they're able to actually in one day figure out a whole topic. But a large amount of the criticisms for the 4x4 schedule are the break intervals or lack thereof, and also our AP students are worrying about their AP test being that it's at the end of the year, but our AP teachers have taken that into account and are making workshops in the second semester for their AP students. Our lack of bells, for the first 2 weeks, it was pretty rocky, but everybody got used to it, except they added a bell at lunchtime because we get carried away sometimes. Our new advisory period for, what is the advisory period? It's a period of time on Mondays and Fridays that utilize the same schedule as our Grizzly Flex time. It's a period to share announcements, find extra help, build the school spirit and community, and allow teachers to be one-on-one with students. Our freshman advisories are spearheaded by Jefferson's own Link Crew. For the uninitiated, Jefferson has a group of juniors and seniors who lead freshman advisories, take freshmen to school section events, and overall make their stay at Jefferson unlike any other. And that'll be it for me.
Okay.
For Oceana, Back to School Night is on Thursday, and we will be offering both virtual and in-person options this year. This is to reduce the amount of families on campus and to protect little siblings and people who haven't been vaccinated. So we will be offering webinars for the different grades, and then we'll have a schedule after that so people can come and talk to teachers in person. And then after, you can also join a Q&A online to talk to teachers again. And the freshmen will no longer be presenting their freshman orientation in person. They'll just present to their classes to save time. We are having our first club fair since pre-pandemic, and we have so many students interested. Some clubs have had to withdraw because there were so many students that signed up, so that's really exciting. And we've also seen students sign up for a lot more other things. So for Oceana's Advisory Council, we had over 50 students sign up, which meant we had to move to a bigger location. So we've seen a lot of participation in student government and advisory council. That's mostly what I have to report, but I did want to bring up that a lot of students have expressed their concerns about the quality and quantity of school lunches. So we are currently putting together a student survey to gather some more feedback and some statistics on how many rely on them and how many of them are athletes.
Mr. Abuzarea?
So at Westmore, our back-to-school night was 2 weeks ago on like Wednesday, September 1st. I think in the area where I was, it wasn't too crowded, but part of that could be from like the reduced traffic from the new building, because like now, like even during the school day, the main building isn't all too crowded. like the new building is now, because there's only like the front and the back entrance. And then I believe our club fair is this Friday, and I expect there to be like a lot of interest because, you know, a lot of people haven't really had interaction in like 2 years. So I think the ninth graders in particular will be like really interested in like the clubs on campus. I think not too much is going on. I think, oh yeah, the grading period is ending this week. The first grading period is Friday, which is kind of crazy. Like 6 weeks have already passed by, and it still feels like everyone is kind of adjusting because like the new end time, like those 30 minutes, like in the beginning of the day, I personally feel a little bit more energized, but I have 0 period, so now I'm like 30 minutes later than what I used to be. So like, you know, I'm not at school at 7 a.m. now, I'm like 7:30. So, and then, but like the 3:30, I don't know, it feels very different. Like it just feels really draining. But that could also just be from like the Zoom, like we were on Zoom, and like before that we were back, like we were done with the school day around 1:30 if you didn't have 0 period. So it's like we're still in an adjusting period. And that is all. Thank you.
Asana?
So for Terra Nova, we started flex time. Last week was our first day on Thursday, and it actually went really well. We had practice that Tuesday, and then another day, I forgot which day. But we had practiced it, and then the first official day was last Thursday, and all the students like really liked it, and I feel like everyone used it like accordingly, like to get tests done, or just to do homework and stuff, or catch up on projects. So that went well, and then last week we also have like this group called like peer helpers at our school, and they entered the freshmen's classrooms, and there was positive feedback from there. I heard that there was like a few classes that like it was just kind of difficult getting the freshmen interacted, but for the most part, all the other students said that the freshmen reacted like really well, and they were like able to get involved and stuff. This week we were supposed to have club fair on Tuesday, but it got rescheduled to next week because there was just like miscommunication between the dates and stuff. So we'll be having club fair next week, but there seems to be a lot of like new clubs arising and stuff, which is good. Last week we had our first home football game, so there was like a lot of excitement about that, and it definitely did feel more like back to normal with that. I think a lot of kids were just like excited to see like the cheer team out and like marching band and just like see football. So a lot of kids were excited about that. And then there was holes in our schedules at the start of the week. A lot of the upperclassmen had holes in their schedules, but majority of them have been like fixed, and actually all of them have been fixed, and yeah, so that was good. And then yeah, kind of like Oceana, there has been complaints about the school lunch and the quality of it and the quantity. A lot of students who like do sports are saying it isn't like enough, or just like other kids too. So yeah, that's been addressed, and yeah, that's what I have for Terra Nova. Thank you.
Sir Chapinti?
Yeah, so it's been an eventful few weeks. Good to see our student trustees here, and of course back to school on campuses. Being at the back to school nights was good to see a lot of faculty, staff, of course, some students, and our families on campus to see what they could. Though we're still in the middle of a Delta surge, so for those that couldn't make it, of course, we hope to, get through this sooner than later, but we'll work at the pace of the world, and looking forward to more of that engagement. So being there, I think discussing a few things too, seeing the Daly City Youth Health Center there, seeing just some of the administrators and of course staff, faculty and staff across the campuses talking about our programs and how we're adapting and what we're anticipating, even with maybe an influx of students and families that are refugees from Afghanistan, and the kind of things we should be thinking about as we move through this stage of a pandemic, and just everything the world is going through is both insightful and also inspiring to see how we can adapt to that. And so seeing the work that students are doing around mutual aid on their own campuses, around responding to COVID, and just adapting to being back on campus are the kind of things I see as a teacher at the schools I work at. With the 4x4 schedule at some of our campuses, that takes a lot of adjusting to in terms of just getting back to what we're going to know is a new normal on our campuses. And so Looking forward to the feedback from our students on that. And yeah, getting on with the semester. That said, we also had a couple meetings recently. One was governance training this weekend. It was good to have a governance training. We'll say that I was also disappointed that we couldn't get to more of the work that we're here to do as a board, and also that I felt, once again, that some of these discussions don't get to the heart of issues, and instead we see a lot of divisiveness and, in fact, marginalization. I can say myself, being personally and politically, professionally attacked in this room and at these meetings is not only disheartening, but just disgraceful. There's a lot of civic grace that hasn't been seen in this room and in this board for the past year. I think the issues that I raise, I'm not alone on, obviously, but my main concern comes with the way that other board members are conducting their work in public, on social media, targeting youth organizers and community organizers, including alumni from our district, former students who are speaking out and should feel safe to do so. I feel like the kind of threats that have been leveled against me as a former student, former employee, union member, and current teacher in special education, as well as being a trustee on the school board, speaks volumes as to the political kind of pressure being put around issues that revolve ultimately around real estate. So, as disappointing as that is, I will continue to encourage a higher level, a higher standard of ethics, governance, and civility from every board member at in this board, and of course in our community. And I will continue to be open to hearing public comment, as any board member should be, but I also expect a higher standard of behavior that we conduct in our classrooms and in this boardroom. And that said, there are bigger issues in our world today. It's an election day at the state level, and of course across our nation and our world, the ramifications will be, I guess, something we'll watch on the news. But I hope that this board can conduct itself at a higher standard and actually seek to address the deeper issues that our students are learning about and will be a part of when they graduate, and not feel intimidated to speak up on, including our faculty, staff, and our community at large. I say that with respect to the garden here at Serramonte Del Rey, and I say that with respect to Westmore Park, and to our schools at Pacifica, which have been discussed as properties instead of as schools. I'll say this again, our schools are not for sale, not for lease. I will stand by that, and anybody who wants to have a discussion, I'm always open to, without any reservation. So I'll leave it at that, and yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Salahuddin?
So, it was also a really busy week for me, for a lot of ways. You know, it's been a week of loss. A lot of really close friends of mine have passed away last week, which was really hard. But you still have to keep moving and keep going. And so I spent a lot of time reflecting on just my life and, how much time I spend here doing this live type of work. And it was a really good kind of recheck on why this work is so important to me. And especially our work study this weekend, it's kind of like a reminder, when even being asked, how long have you been a school board member? It's like, oh my God, since 2012. It's a long time. And to devote of one's life to a singular task for free. So, just about. And so, first, I just want to thank the board for spending the time together on a Saturday. And, for those that were here on time, it was hard for us not to get to everything, but because we couldn't start on time, it was a little hard. But it was really good to reconnect. I know that COVID kind of caused us to get a little separated, just because it's hard to connect over via Zoom, and we're used to having that connection together. So I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for our superintendent and the honesty and vulnerability that everyone showed. So Thank you. And I will say too that, you know, I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids. They all went through the JUHSD. And I could not have done that as successfully as I did if my kids had not gone through the JUHSD. I never really felt alone. I always felt like I had so many people who cared about the outcome of my children. Teachers and staff and faculty, you know, front office, custodians, the cafeteria staff, like so many people that knew our family background and would check in. So, you know, my oldest son, he has autism, and it was hot, just really hot. It was one of those weird freak summers where, you know, the beginning of the school year where it was just hot, and he didn't like to wear shorts because he just didn't like the way it felt, and so he was sweltering because everyone else would wear shorts. And I remember 2 teachers and 2 students worked with him to figure out what type of shorts he could wear so that he would be more comfortable at school. And he just didn't really want to have that conversation with his mom. And it's a little thing like that, but it just really stands out to me. So we went away to Southern California this weekend, and he put on shorts. And, you know, I'm just thinking, he's wearing shorts now because of his time at Terra Nova. And, you know, my daughter, Amira, she just, so much of her life and her trajectory now was created at Jefferson. And just her voice and that family connection to where, you know, I would volunteer at Jefferson in the morning serving breakfast, and she would start making a breakfast plate. And I was like, oh, how sweet. Like, she's making me breakfast. And she was like, oh, no, this is for Ms. Owens. And I was like, okay, cool. Go ahead and take it to your music teacher. But at the same time, I thought, like, how much care must Ms. Owens have for my daughter where she's like, I need to get Ms. Owens breakfast. And my daughter, Ananda, went to Oceana, and she had a really hard time, and she had to go to Thornton. And I remember that meeting, I felt like a failure as a parent. And it was meeting with Ms. Monica Casey, when she was the principal of Thornton, who really just made me feel like, this is actually, you're lucky to be here. We're so glad we caught your daughter. We're so happy that she could be here. And she would not have graduated from high school and been on the trajectory that she is now had she not gone to Thornton and learned that she is a learner. She is an educator. And I think about through the trajectory of all my children's lives and how many of their teachers and staff are not here anymore. All of my son's special education teachers have left, every single one. And half of them left his senior year. Of my daughters, Ananda at Thornton, almost every single one of her teachers have left. At Jefferson, Amira has 4 teachers that have left. Amazing people who have touched so many lives. And I remember when we went to the on-site school meetings, and we had teachers and staff saying, we need you to do something. We need you to do something. And so this is why we took the course of action that we did, and this is what continues to drive me now, is that I want the children that come into this district behind me to have the same blessings that my children have. So I know that some people are upset with the direction that we've taken, but this is why I do what I do, and this is what drives me, so thank you.
I just want to say thank you to Ms. Salahuddin for her words. They really touched me. And I also, kind of on the same note, well, first of all, I want to say I am so happy to see all the student trustees here in person and not on Zoom. And, you know, it's just, and it touches my heart that you are all here and participating and really just giving your voice. So thank you so much. And also reporting to us for all the things that, you know, we might have missed because we're here and not at the school with you during the day. So thank you for that. It's really important to us to hear about all the things that are going on, and especially the food in the cafeteria. I know that's something we definitely need to work on a continual basis. So, and I also want to speak a little bit, just kind of add on what Trustee Salahuddin said too. I also, so the reason why I am on the school board is also because of the experience that I have had in the school district. And my own children, I have stepchildren who went through the school district, and they were given so much love and support through the district. I just felt like I really had to give back for all the effort and the love they gave to us as a family, even though, my stepson was having a hard time. So, we were at our workshop this weekend, and we were discussing our handbook, and I kind of just mentioned, that the first guideline that we have in the handbook is that we will keep our focus on the best interest of our students. So my children will be coming to school here. And so I am here to make sure that all the teachers that you are all currently being educated by that are amazing will continue to stay here and not have to worry that they can't live here or that they have to get another job somewhere else in another school district because they can't afford to teach you guys and get you through to the next level in life, right? So, and I think that's the only reason why I am here. And I just love all this relationships that I've built here through the short time that I've been here and continue to do so. Just this community is really strong and encouraging and supportive. And, I just want to be able to make an impact as well. So, again, my only focus here is for you guys and for my own children. When they come to high school, that they will still experience the amazing teachers that you guys already have right now at the schools. So thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Mr. Lee?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Garrett, for that first item. We will keep our focus on the best interests of our students. I look around this room right now, and everybody who's in here, whether elected or an employee or a student, is here because of that statement. We will keep our focus on the best interests of our students. Every single thing I've done in my almost 6 years on the board has been with that first thought in mind. 2 weeks ago, I was fortunate to be part of the Educational Housing Corporation's board meeting, and there is a topic on that later in this meeting, but what I want to speak to is very specifically is the fact that looking at those folks who are part of that group, they're doing the exact same thing, focusing on the best interest of our students. Because when the successful completion of our staff and faculty housing project means that we will have about a quarter of our staff able to live there at below market rate rent. And they'll be able to be here for an extended period of time, which means that we will reduce staff and faculty turnover. That means a student who comes in as a freshman is likely to still have a relationship with a teacher 4 years later as a senior. Somebody who could write that individual perhaps a recommendation for college or for a job or anything like that. And subsequent to that, we've been talking about the fact that we do want to do larger work that can generate additional income for this school district. And we're doing this not to put ourselves on a pedestal. We're not doing this for our glory. We're doing this because we are keeping our focus on the best interests of our students. Additional revenue to this district means potentially better pay for our staff. It means more money for the programs that we have here. It means that students will continue to have teachers who will stay for the course of their 4-year high school career. We're doing this so that we know we can maximize the revenue that is necessary for this school district on an ongoing basis in perpetuity. And that's a really big thing because we need to be able to have funds that we locally control. And we need to be creative about the assets that we have in order to be able to do so. So I am very proud of the work that we've been doing. It hasn't been easy. Nobody said it would be easy. And certainly it's been challenging. But I also know that it's worth doing. It's worth it because we continue to keep focus on the best interest of our students. I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't believe it. I'm a parent of 2 JUHSD alumni. And I know that both of them had turnover during the course of their high school careers. There were only a handful of teachers that were still around from their freshman year to their senior years. And the ones that they were able to create, that they were fortunate enough to have relationships with, they continue to have relationships with them today. And I've seen the success that my kids have had, and I've seen the successes that so many of our students have had over the 6 years I've been on this board and the longer time I've been a parent of this district. And I know that with the work that we are currently doing, despite the battles that we are facing right now, is well worth it because we are doing more for the students that are here today and the students that are yet to come, including Ms. Garrett's young children. So thank you so much to everybody in this room for the work that you're doing. Thank you to all the teachers and staff who are watching out there right now because I know how hard you are working right now. I know how difficult the environment is for you right now. And your work has not gone unnoticed by me and certainly by my colleagues here and everybody in this room. So thank you, thank you, thank you to every single one of you. And thank you for your support in the work that we've been able to do so far.
Thank you. I'm at a loss for words. This is indicative of how our governance workshop went, our board retreat, retreat is usually, you're at a golf club or something like that, but no, it was a working retreat, and I think it was much needed. We did work on governance. We addressed a lot of things. We had courageous conversations, and I'm glad that you both brought up the number one focus is the best interest of our students. I am a product of this district. I went to Jefferson. My whole family went to Jefferson. I have a nephew who went to Oceana. Extended family. My sister-in-law's uncle was of the first graduating class from Jefferson. So I think class of 24. So I have a real respect and love for this district, and I know that there are a lot of people here who, as you shared, you have had children who went through, and I also am a single mom, and 2 children. My son graduated from Westmore in 2015, and I think he's the last, that was the last class where they had the same principal all 4 years, 2015. It's been difficult, and loss of teachers. There are a few kids at Jeff, my daughter's friends, who literally cried because some of their favorite teachers left. I mean, it is heartbreaking because continuity is everything. You don't want to, you have a teacher might have had you at sophomore year, and they can tell your teacher in junior or senior year, this is what the student is like. You can't do it if they're not there anymore. There's no continuity. This work, I have to admit, when I applied to be appointed to this board, I did not know what I was getting myself into. I thought, oh, I'm going to advocate. And there are a whole set of rules. The focus is so different. And I couldn't serve as an officer on PTAs because that's like double dipping. I mean, I could help, but I can't make any decisions having to do with money, fundraising, nothing like I used to do in elementary and intermediate school for my kids. So that was different, but also 4 years, one term, that is not enough to learn this job. And I'm still learning because things keep changing, as you know, these past 18 months. And I've suffered a lot of loss in my family during those years. And, I lost my mother 2 years ago. A month before the election, we were working on the parcel tax, and I was the only person who was trained on the outreach software for the election, the outreach software to reach voters. And this is part of the job. You got to do this you want to raise money to sustain this district. My mother would have wanted that. They always voted for anything having to do with education, always. And my dad, same thing. And I lost him this past year, actually 6 months ago. And he always signed on whenever we had a funding initiative. His name was always on the ballot arguments. And he was always so proud of that. And I've shared here that after my father passed away in March, it's really difficult. It was really difficult for me to mourn and grieve at the same time being board president. But this is why I make the big bucks here, right? I mean, $244 a month after taxes. And this is the important work. It's a mission. It is a mission. And we need to be sure that we have a sustainable funding source to help this district. We have had to be creative because, we can't, we're constantly losing staff to, our neighbors down the peninsula who can pay more. And we can't change how parcel taxes are allocated here because, we just can't compete with what's happening down with our neighbors. So this is my commitment to everyone on the board. We are working together for this district. For your students coming up, our students who are here. My daughter, who I told her, this is your last back to school night ever. And she said, well, if I become a teacher, maybe I'll be having back to school nights. And I said, or maybe when you have kids. She's, ah. So, but she immediately said, well, if, I become a teacher, I could be leading back to school nights. And that's what her teachers have instilled in her, is that it is noble and good to become a teacher. And we have to do the good work to help them. It's a huge lift, but you know what? We got to do it. We just have to do it. I'm just babbling on, but at Jefferson, I attended the Senior Sunrise. It's the first one they've ever had. And it was a little painful for me to get up at 5 in the morning, but more painful for my daughter because she had to be there with me. But we got there at 6 to set up, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Everyone was masked. There were so many kids, like over 100, showed up that early in the morning. And back to school night was amazing. It was, the parking lots were full. You had full families walking around. And some teachers told me they didn't have any visitors, but I'm still here. But then other teachers, they had just packed with families coming through. So it was really good to just be in the hallways that I used to walk around in. And I don't remember where, I generally know where my locker was, but I don't remember which number. And I do want to share one thing, is that my daughter won a Young Filmmakers Award, a contest sponsored by the Millbrae Cultural Committee. And it included a $500 award, but it's something that she and her friend did together on water conservation. And, you know, it's the stuff that creativity has always been encouraged in this district and at Jeff, and where she went to school, in Jefferson Elementary. So she honed her skills that way, and she wants to become a filmmaker. And, you know, she's fully encouraged by all her teachers. It's really awesome. So with that, I will move on to Ms. Presta.
Thank you. So I could reiterate a lot of what was said. I want to just, but I won't. So I want to thank the board for being here. We were here from very early in the morning till late in the afternoon on Saturday. And working on governance, I think it's really important that we work together as a team. And I'm really proud to work with this team of people who have a lot of integrity and dedication. So I'm just honored to work with you, and I thank you for giving your whole Saturday. And I will leave it at that. And I want to just say that I love Mondays because I get to walk around with Monica Casey, AFT president, and visit classrooms and visit offices, visit school sites, get in and see students. I'm seeing Madeline looking over at me. I got to see her in her element on Monday at Oceana. And it's just honestly the absolute best part of being the superintendent. So I have really enjoyed being on campuses and being in classrooms. And every time we go to sites, we just see, like, you know, we were in Lori Hughes' cooking class, and we got to have some soup when they finished. And, you know, we got to see the new science classroom at Oceana. We were at Oceana this Monday. Looking at, you know, Mr. Corp's humanities class. I mean, just in the library, everywhere we go, we have great conversations with people. Sometimes people are grabbing us saying, hey, I'm glad you're here. This or this needs to be fixed. You know, and sometimes they're like, look at my new classroom. This is so awesome. You know, thank you so much. So, but mostly it's really great to see the kids. And so that was good. I noticed that there were more students eating lunch at Oceana than at Jefferson. When I was at Jefferson, a lot of kids weren't eating. So I want to figure this out. Oceana, more kids are eating. So we need to get more kids eating at lunchtime. And I will also say, I don't have the number in front of me, but I did hear you about the quality and quantity of the food. I do know that our cafeterias are doing, I forget, Ms. Van Rappos, I'm putting you on the spot, was it 60% more lunches than we have ever made before? Was it 60%?
I wouldn't necessarily say than ever before, but then 1920, then
Okay.
prior to COVID.
Last year, prior to COVID. So 60% more lunches being made. So doesn't mean there's not room for improvement with the same amount of staff. So we have hired, I think on tonight's board agenda, there are some new cafeteria workers. And so we really are trying to, you know, improve all the time. And I'm also proud of our cafeteria workers, the work that they're doing, because it's a big job. I will, let's see, what else do I want to mention? I want to put a plug in for the open houses. It's been really fun. I'm actually missing my son's open house tonight, back to school night tonight. But most of the back to school nights have been virtual in a lot of, well, not most, in some places they're virtual. And it's been really nice that ours have had a combo. There's been some virtual aspects and some real life aspects, but it's been so nice to see the students and parents at back to school nights connecting with their teachers. So I'm actually really proud of us that we've been able to figure out how to do that. And then finally, we have decided that we really want to have a night that's just a town hall, because there's a few items that we want to make sure are communicated with people with a chance for two-way communication. So we just picked the day today, or this week actually. Next Wednesday on September 22nd at 7 p.m., we're going to have a virtual town hall. There will be a few different topics that we're discussing, and those will be like a COVID update, kind of letting people know where we are, what, where to find information, that kind of thing. We're going to have an ESSER 3 plan update from Ms. Baca, and a chance for the community to give input on that as well. And we're going to have a Serramonte Del Rey development update. So all three of those things are the topics. It will be a webinar format, and there will be a way for the public to, share their thinking. Okay? So I hope we will message that information out, probably a couple of ways, but for sure in my Friday communication with links. And that is all for me. Thank you.
The AFT Local 1481 report, Ms. Casey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I have, the first thing I wanted to talk about was one of the big issues that we've been having is lack of substitutes. It's affecting everyone. It's affecting the staff, paraprofessionals, teachers, and also the counselors. It's just overall, and of course the students. We have a lot of students that are not seeing their teachers if they're out for whatever reason, because we don't have enough substitutes in the state, in the country. So it's not just our problem. And two things just happened. They've extended the substitute long-term subbing from 30 to 60 days, thank goodness. And the second thing that happened is they are allowing new retirees to actually substitute. They used to have to wait 6 months to come back to substitute, but they can substitute immediately. So I just wanted to give that good news. So that's some of the work that the CFT and the presidents that I meet with have been pushing for quite a while. So now, thank goodness that's happening. It's been great being on campuses and seeing some of you, and seeing all the staff. And again, everyone is stressed. We don't have enough people. And it's heartbreaking. But we'll get better. We'll do what we need to do. I have a letter that I read a couple weeks ago. I think that was a couple weeks ago. There are a couple of changes, a couple of additions, and I would like to read it again because at that meeting, it was not live and it was not recorded. So I apologize in advance that it's long, and I will read it again. So, hello, members of the board, administration, staff, students, and members of the community. As union president, I am directly involved in the vision and mission of JUHSD by supporting a positive working environment for the staff who teach and care for our students. That is our job as a district. And for the past 20 years, I have been in the district. I have been proud of the job that we all do, even though we do not get compensated as much as other districts in our same area. Due to the inequities in the budget structure of our state, our district does not have the funds we need to pay staff an equitable rate and fund student programs at levels of other districts, our neighbors just 10 minutes up and down 280 and 101. Because of these inequities, Our local community has supported our district by voting for bonds for construction of a new district office and to improve current buildings, parcel taxes to raise money for student programs and staff salaries, and a bond to get our workforce housing started. These all help support our students by making their education sites more modern and by helping recruit and retain staff. I must also mention that it is not always easy to get a parcel tax or bond passed. We have had some fail, and we already have a parcel tax that will continue through 2028. Our district and community has been trying to find other ways to increase funding. We, district and union, have come up with some ideas, and the Board of Trustees has voted to move forward on plans for these ideas, even borrowing money to do so, in a direction that would be viable for our district, staff, students, and community. We, the union, have been included in the plans and ideas about how the Serramonte Del Rey site will be repurposed and will include at least double the green space that it currently has. Daly City, like all Bay Area cities, must add new housing units per the state of California, and will add the units regardless in our city somewhere. We would like to acknowledge the district office staff and board for their due diligence in keeping us and the community informed on the process. We only wish we could move more quickly to make these changes and improvements. The union fully supports the district maximizing the development of the Serramonte Del Rey site to generate funds to meet the needs of students and staff. There are members of the community who say they support JUHSD staff and students, but are actively working against the interest of the majority of our community without considering who is affected by our district's lack of funds, the underserved, special education, foster youth, students learning English, low income, and BIPOC. By not fully supporting the proposal and continuing to oppose the SDR plans, you are seen as anti-staff, anti-union, and ultimately anti-JUHSD. As the union president representing the AFT 1481 members, our union sees you as working against the best interest of the students and staff by aligning yourself with people who have minimal connection with our district, our students, and our staff, to make us feel like we're bad to try and improve our district's financial standings. The board members especially were voted in to serve the district's best interests, which would be to move forward with these plans. After all I have said, I would like to make sure that 3 points are emphasized. 1, the voters supported the district's plans. 2, this plan would benefit our students and staff and the community. And 3, and finally, and just to be absolutely clear, the AFT 1481 will be reassessing our future relationships with any member of the board who obstructs this further, and we will be making our union siblings in the San Mateo Central Labor Council aware of this obstruction. This has been signed by me, which is the president of AFT 1481, and the AFT 1481 Executive Board and site reps of the Jefferson Union High School District, serving Daly City, Pacifica, Colma, and Brisbane. Julie Lind, Executive Secretary Treasurer of the San Mateo Council Central Labor Council. Jeff Freitas, President of CFT, a union of educators and classified professionals. Paul Hagan, President of AFT 3267 of Jefferson Elementary School District, serving Daly City. And Melinda Dart, Executive Board Member of the San Mateo County Central Labor Council. I have many other staff members who have sent emails saying they support this project. Statements that I have other people that are going to share that people have said, I've seen colleagues around me leave. You know, when you've got social workers, you have wellness counselors, staff in the office that just can't stay here. They can't afford it. And many teachers, principals, vice principals. So it's the whole gamut. District office staff. We need to increase our funding. Thank you.
And to item 5D, COVID-19 response update.
So I'm going to be speaking because Michelle Jones is not able to be here tonight. Really, the only update, the associate superintendents have no updates. The main update is that we are working on getting the COVID testing at our sites. It has proven to be, we thought, I'm looking at Associate Superintendent Pasquino. We thought we had it figured out about 3 weeks ago. We had the contract in hand and we were ready to go. And then there were lots of curveballs. So Michelle Jones has really, this has been her sole focus. And we are very, very close to getting the testing into the sites. We thought that we were going to be able to do it twice a week, but it looks like it may only be once a week. As I'm sure you know, the governor, that's the baseline, is you have to, if you are not a vaccinated staff member, you will have to be tested at least once a week. So I'm hopeful that we're going to have it finalized this Friday. I'm going to not share too much. There's a couple of companies that we're thinking of going with. And so I'm looking forward to that. Aside from that, I just want to express my gratitude to Austin Morden, who's been spending a lot of time as communications director on just COVID issues, to our nurse, Mark Pascale, who's doing contact tracing, Ms. Pasquino, who spends her weekends doing contact tracing. So we have become healthcare workers in addition to educators, and I'm grateful. But we will have more of an update on Wednesday. But really the big thing is we're really just trying to get the testing going. Thank you for that.
So I'm going to bypass item 6, which we all reviewed, information and correspondence. And on to item number 7, consent items.
Consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On to public comment.
So we do have public comment tonight. I would like to address the speakers directly before we start. Just some guidelines. So you will get a customarily 3 minutes to speak. We cannot comment on any of the items that you are discussing. We will definitely, we'll be listening, and we do appreciate your voice in advance. I do want to make that comment. And just in case, I do see a couple of people who did sign up to speak, but we do not see you on the link. So if you did sign up on the spreadsheet, and please go to your email just to click the link to make sure you have the Zoom link so that we can, you have access so we can call your name and you'll be able to speak via Zoom. So I do want to make that comment again just before we start. So I will go ahead and call the first speaker. It is Hiba Hamadeh. Pardon my mispronunciation.
Oh, hello.
Hi there.
Hi, thank you for your time. I'd like to start off by saying this comment is about the community garden and Westmore Park. Like many members of the JUHSD school board, I have a deep-rooted love for my community and our local schools and teachers. It's because of this that I'm here right now making a public comment. I also, like one of the board members, attended Westmore High School for all 4 years of my high school education, and I actually found it ironic that one of the biggest problems I feel like all the schools in the district face is the school to prison pipeline, which no one ever addresses. And I actually am a current volunteer with Fresh Lifelines for Youth, and Thornton High School is actually one of my community sites. A lot of students who go there get sent there from Westmore, actually. And if you guys are not familiar with the school to prison pipeline, it's basically a trend where school disciplinary policies and punitive forms of punishment send kids to either continuation schools or juvenile hall. And the fact that most of the kids at Thornton are from Westmore tells you how problematic Westmore actually is. And it's because of that security presence on campus that makes, certain kids feel unsafe and don't want to go to school, or like they feel like they're criminalized on campus. But that's like a whole nother topic I just wanted to address really quick since, we're already on the subject. But I also found that ironic how you guys are trying to angle it like demolishing the garden and getting rid of the park is the only way to fund our schools and to fund our teachers. I'm pretty sure if a majority of the students knew that you guys are trying to get rid of Westmore Park, they would be outraged, because I knew a lot of students when I was going to school there, and I know a lot of current students who spend so much time there. And by taking away Westmore Park, you're taking away like one of their hangout spots, like somewhere they go often. And I'm pretty sure like students wouldn't want to be next to freaking like apartment complex. Like, I just feel like it's weird doing it there, and you guys are not even providing alternative solutions. Like, you're not trying to work with the community, with the students, or with the teachers. Like, all I'm hearing right now is you guys bullying everyone. And that whole AFT comment was so problematic. I literally took it as a threat, and I literally cannot believe you would talk to school board members like that. And you know what? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, I do have Victoria Becker. No? Okay. Victoria Becker, if you can hear us, you do need to click on the Zoom link in order to make comments. So I will call you back once again just before we end. So next, we have Liliana Rivera.
Hi, good evening. I would like to also speak about the Westmore Park and Community Garden in Daly City. I want to echo what the past speaker had said, in that I think it was extremely disrespectful, inappropriate, and rude for the union president to threaten a school board member who's been democratically elected. And Mr. O was a teacher of mine, and honestly, I can see that he's the only one out of all of you that's acting with integrity and who really cares about what the students want. Because like the previous speaker said, if you really were being honest about what you're actually doing, all of the students would not agree with you. Like, it's just egregious what you're doing. And like the fact that you're trying to cloak it in all of these like pretty phrases, but you're not being honest. You're closing Westmore Park, you're building market rate luxury units on the only community garden in Daly City. You're bulldozing hundreds of trees. You're displacing the gardeners who use that garden to grow food, to feed their families, to feed their community. You're getting rid of all that. And you're not being honest about that. You're acting like this is something that, like, you're not being real, because if people really knew what you were doing, this is unacceptable. Anybody who's been to this garden, anybody who's enjoyed Westmore Park would know that this is so out of reach of like what a school board should be doing, and so unacceptable that would never ever happen in another community where people were more like able to join these meetings and know what is actually really going on. And yeah, if you want to talk about the best interest of the students, like that garden is right next to, I think, the preschool and then Shasta. And it's like they use that garden, you know what I mean? Like, not only that, but if you want to talk about like sustainability, you guys did this before, but now you ran out of money, so you're doing it again. So you're selling a park, you're selling a garden because you ran out of money from the last time you tried to do this. So shouldn't that be the lesson? This is actually not sustainable financially, and it's not sustainable in terms of the environment either, because I don't know if you all know this, but in Daly City, people die younger than the rest of San Mateo County because of issues, health issues that we have from the pollution. Because we don't have green space, we don't have trees, we just have parking lots and corporations and apartment buildings, and that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to build market rate units. Not affordable, that's not for the teachers, that's not for the students. That's market rate that people in this city cannot afford to live in. So how dare you sit there and say that you're worried about the people in the community and the students and the families, but you're not doing anything to help them. you're selling out to the developers. You're selling what little public land we have left because I'm sure you're probably getting some type of kickback from it, to be honest, because there's no other reason rationally why you would ever do this. Yeah, and I just don't think that it's right what you're doing. Like, I really think you need to be real about what's happening. Like, I don't appreciate the way that people are threatening the only person who's standing up for what's right. And just stop. Like, honestly, you need to listen to the community, because if you were being honest, nobody would agree with you, and they would all vote you out, honestly. That was all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Russell Lee.
Hi. Yeah, like the clerk said, my name is Russell, and I grew up around the Daly City area. Most of my friends are there. I was born there, and like many who grew up in the area, would spend many of my weekends at Serramonte Mall, just down the street from Daly City's only community garden. I just want to say that I can't believe that you want to demolish it. A 20-year-old community garden, thinking that you could just move all the trees, plants, and all of the memories that are formed in those 20 years to a new location without any concern for those who made a home at that garden. I'm unsure of each of your political motives, but what I am sure of is the Daly City community will not let your plans follow through. Seeing this current situation reminds me of when my high school ecology club was first starting our garden. We were constantly reminded of the garden before it. Our advisor was pretty much in charge of it and would go with the students to care for it for years. So when the new El Camino football field was built on top of everything they had cultivated together, understandably, my advisor was devastated. He was so devastated that he couldn't bring himself to help us start a new one. But we went on without him. Starting with a plot of ice plants and virtually no prior experience to gardening, we ended with arguably a semi-beautiful garden consisting of native plant species, gravel pathways, mulch, and tree log chairs. And then ironically, after we graduated, the school put a classroom portable on part of it. Because that's just how the school and the district is when you build community spaces. Because this garden has been there for more than 2 decades and has seen countless people who contributed to their own little something that's made it to what it is today. Those on the board, Carla, Rosie, Kalima, and Andrew, the first times I've heard of y'all, cannot encourage green spaces and for students to build community and also sell one of the only few community spaces and green spaces that are left for students and community. There are other ways to fund teachers' salaries and staff salaries. Like you said, there are ballot measures, parcel taxes. There are ways to rally around those issues so you could raise salaries without diminishing what little community space we have. And I just want to say I'm shocked by the president of the teachers union, her statement just a bit ago. The board is framing it as it's this or that. It's teacher salaries or this garden. But it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. I just want to say shame on all of you who are in support of this project. And this is not the, I'm not going to make any threats, but I'm just saying that this is not the end of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Keliana Hui. Keliana? Okay, one more time for Keliana.
Is she on the Zoom?
She was on the list. I mean, I saw her on the Zoom, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to move on to Jazz.
Good night. Good evening, everyone.
Hi there.
Everyone just get right.
Oh, you're cutting in and out. Hello? Do we have bad connection? She's still on there? Okay. Oh, we're still having a bad connection there. Yeah, let's go back. Okay, next we have Eddie Holman. Eddie Holman?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm calling in for the complete preservation of Westmore Park and the community garden at the Jefferson Union High School District campus, the Serramonte Del Rey campus. And first off, I just want to say that teachers absolutely deserve to be paid higher. There's no doubt that teachers are underpaid in Daly City and beyond, and they deserve adequate pay for the hard work that they put in for our community. That being said, framing this entire development as the only way to pay teachers is really a false narrative and really a sinister lie. Demolishing green space to build apartments we can't afford to live in, the DC community, or even Jefferson Union High School teachers, this narrative is a lie. Brookwood Advisors, the developer consultants that Jefferson Union High School District has already allocated over $6 million to, are pitting the interests of our working class community against the interests of working class teachers. And really the only winner here is the profit of the private developers that you've already hired and made sure that the community is shelling out lots of money to them over the time period for this bond. The only way that this should be done is by going to the ballot and levying a tax. So this can not for sale. And I understand that the needs of the teachers are important, but are they more important than every other consideration of Daly City? Daly City is the 6th densest city in the United States with less than 5% tree canopy. The existing lack of green space results in higher rates of asthma and diabetes in North San Mateo County. Destroying the only community garden in Westmore Park will be a brutal blow to DC residents. Combined destruction of Serramonte Del Rey community garden in Westmore will result in over 300 trees being cut down. This will be a direct contribution to climate change that is ravaging DC and beyond. We now continuously breathe toxic smoke and ashes from what forests remain. This is not the time to pursue reckless development. And also, I just want to say, this is deeply, deeply, deeply unpopular. And any facade or story that there has been outreach to the community is a lie. Any person you talk to and explain to them what is at stake here, the amount of trees that are being cut down, the parks that are being lost in communities that don't have parks, nobody is for that deal. And I know that a lot of you look at this as a stepping stone to higher office. Know that you will remember the actions you take. This is a sellout. We can see that this is a bad deal. And I just want to close by saying that I think that many of the school board or the trustees here, the grandstanding that we saw earlier, everyone waxing nostalgic about all this great time they've had in the public school system. Let's talk about what you're trading away. You are permanently getting rid of public land. That will not be available for future generations. And I want to close by saying we should circle back. I would like the board to circle back to the commenters who had connection issues and also maybe folks that weren't able to unmute. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Melissa Ambrose, I'm sorry.
To see the current program move to a location that more adequately meets the needs of our students. Next comment. I wish they had done it earlier. Maybe we would not have lost so many good staff members to higher paying districts. We need to pay people more if we want them to stay. Last comment. I am grateful to the district for trying to be creative about how to retain teachers and staff and minimize turnover, which I think creates stronger schools. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Fernando Montanes. Montanez. Fernando? One more time for Fernando. Okay, we're going to move on to Victoria Becker again. She's on the list again. Do we have her on the list, Jake? Okay. So I'm going to move on to Jackie Galay.
Galia, thank you.
Galia, sorry about that.
That's all right. I just wanted to speak out in support of keeping this community garden and wanted to be very clear that a lot of the people who are speaking out in support of keeping the garden and not bulldozing it over for housing are educators and absolutely do respect and care about continuity of care and about affordable housing being available to educators. Our issue is that that's not what's being proposed here. And what is being proposed is something that's going to take away a space that so many from the community are telling you all means a lot to them, has meant a lot to them, and will continue to mean a lot to them. So for the folks who are saying that this space means nothing, I'm frankly confused by that, because you have plenty of people telling you to your face that it does mean something. In terms of the water usage, I'm not sure if the commenters are aware of how much water it takes to construct an apartment complex, but it's quite a bit more than it takes to maintain a garden. So we can flush that for now. There is plenty of room in your budget to allocate towards teaching expenses, especially when you're looking at your public safety budget, which in 2020, it looks like the city of Daly City spent about $65 million on public safety. So it looks like you all have some room there to dip into. Further, again, I just have to stress that all of you are in public positions. These people are people who live and work and teach in the spaces that you are representing. So you need to listen to them. It's very clear that you all know the people who are speaking out in support of this housing complex. It's very clear that you all are aware of the folks who are speaking out in support of the garden. So listen to these people. Realize that these are all people who live in the areas that you're claiming to represent. And if you claim to represent them, then you need to hear their desires. You need to understand that affordable housing does not automatically mean mental health relief for everybody involved in these situations. It's much, much more complicated than that. And outdoor spaces, if we're talking about education and child psychology, are extremely beneficial for mental health. In fact, if the teachers who were living in these quote unquote affordable housing spaces had a lovely community garden to spend time with their students in, that would be amazing for continuity of care and community building. So perhaps create affordable housing in some of the apartment complexes that are already in Daly City, pull from the areas of your budget that could use some trimming, such as public safety, and stop proposing housing options that are not affordable and that remove land that is being used for what it was meant to be used for. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I do have Samantha Avila. You wanted to speak on number 9.B.2, so we will call you when that item is
Actually, we can hear her now.
We can hear her
if you want.
Okay, all right. So Samantha Avila, you can, hello?
Hi, my apologies. I wasn't really sure how to submit that form, but I do want to comment on this. Frankly, I'm just really confused. I'm a high school student from South San Francisco, so a neighboring city, but I do recall growing up and going to this Daly City Park community garden and just like creating memories there. It's just really confusing because you're trying to bulldoze a community space to keep community in. Like, there's just no logical thinking behind trying to bulldoze this garden. South City has very bad air quality, you know. We have, I think it's like top 4% in California and like top 5% in the United States on our east side. So we grew up knowing how important nature was to us, knowing that if we had more plants and more trees, then the rates that Latinx people in our community have asthma is lowered. So it's just really heartbreaking when I see Daly City trying to bulldoze a beautiful garden with beautiful trees. I don't know how you're planning on replacing those. Like, what's the idea behind it? Because there's not a lot of trees. There's not a lot of space in Daly City to put up trees. How are you going to replace like 30-plus-year-old trees? That doesn't make any sense. It's just, no, like there's no logical thinking behind this. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get affordable housing, you don't bulldoze a community garden. You look at the apartments that you already have and implement affordable housing in those. I'm not sure what the YIMBY thinking is here, but it's not adding up. It's literally no. No. So I'm pleading you all to really rethink what you're doing, to not let yourself be bribed by developers and what others are thinking. And to that, well, I don't understand how wasting water on trees is like a bad thing, but I mean, okay. But yeah, I'm literally like begging you all to really think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. This is ancestral land. This is land that belongs to the people, that is open to them, that they go to. And you're trying to bulldoze it when you have other options for affordable housing. You have other ways to pay your teachers, and this is the route you choose. So just save the garden. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Andrea.
Hi, good evening. And can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I am just speaking on just as a community member as well on the topic around the gardening, the community garden. Again, it's just really disappointing to hear, leadership try to spin this idea that creating, market rate housing is what's going to fix this quote unquote problem that was already created by you guys in the work that you have done in the past previously. If you guys are so worried about, keeping teachers and ensuring what's best for the students, removing a community garden and removing a park is definitely not one of the things you should be doing to maintain mental health for your students, creating a space for them to go to where they have healthy air quality, and giving them a place to run around in or to hang out in that's like safe. I just am like so appalled that you all as adults are even considering this as an option, and you are trying to spin it that you are creating something for the teachers to stay in your district, when, first of all, it's going to be market rate housing. Market rate housing is not affordable. We have mentioned that multiple times to everyone who has been raised in the Bay Area who is a victim of it. So, and on top of that, your teachers are not being paid market rate. So who's really the problem here? You as a board. And as previous commenters have mentioned, you guys know exactly how to do this and what to do to get this done, to pay your teachers a adequate wage that they deserve, as well as to live in the Bay Area. And that's talking to City Council and dipping into funds like public safety that is well over their budget, as well as utilizing parcel taxes. You guys have created a city that is filled with so many corporations and businesses that are pretty much eating up at your guys' taxes and don't want to utilize them. And then in addition, to hear that there are commenters even saying that watering a garden is bad, I'm sorry. That's really disappointing to hear, but if you're worried about climate change or a drought, removing a garden is only going to make that worse. That's just science. But overall, it's just really disappointing to hear that this is even a thought. So please reconsider in regards to a community as well as in regards to the safety of our lives. Keep the one garden and green space you guys minimally have in Daly City, and utilize the apartments that are already in your area and create affordable housing and push affordable housing in the space you already have, because that's what's being environmentally friendly. That's what's working with what you have and utilizing the space that you already have and making it better for everyone in the community. And in addition, bullying other board members, my lord, y'all should be ashamed of that one, because that was not cool. Daly City, please do better. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Aristel de la Cruz.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I've just been listening to the comments, and I've sort of been keeping up with the information or lack of information that's been sent out around this garden, and my instinct is, and my understanding is that a lot of misinformation is out there. A lot of this feels very much rushed. And I think there needs more time to actually talk to community members. I just, learned about the potential removal of this garden, and I talked to a lot of folks who were very upset when I went to Serramonte Mall at Farmers Market, and people were flyering out there. And I decided to help as well because I thought this is a very concerning issue. I think it's unfair to create a false binary, a false dichotomy, in saying, oh, if we want to keep the garden, then we are essentially anti-teacher and anti-students. I think that is a horrible way to frame it. I think that when you have a cabinet that gets paid, 6-digit salaries and salaries that we're talking about $1 million team, right? $1.5 million team. I think that we should expect them to come up with more creative solutions. I think that the people on this board that present themselves as being creative, I think there's other ways to go about this in terms of supporting the teachers and supporting the students. I think that there needs to be more information. I think that you need to invite the people that work on this garden to come speak at your board meetings, and accelerating a project of this nature. To me, it mirrors much of like the building model of SF, and we've seen what that has done to the people in SF. And I know this because I am an SF resident. And so I think it's justified in not moving on this project, and thinking of a project that prioritizes affordable housing that the very families that the district claims to serve, that they can afford, right? And also maintaining green space, because that is also family oriented and family centered. And so I would be extremely saddened and disappointed if you went forward with this project without really consulting the voices of the community. And I think that the framing of this is extremely problematic, and we need to have all the information, the community needs to have all the information about what's happening, and not simply being selective about what information is being sent out to the community. That's my time.
Thank you for your comments. Last, we have Monica Casey.
I'm not sure if the speakers that already spoke are still on. Hopefully they are, but I invite them to please contact me directly, so I can make sure that they have the actual information and, of what the project is, the timeline of how it happened, how many meetings we met, how many pieces of information were given out, how many times the community was offered to engage. And I do want to say that during COVID, although it may seem like not a great time, we've had so much more participation than we ever have in non-COVID times, you know, without having Zoom. So we have learned some things about how to get people to be involved. And obviously, the people are calling from many different places. We don't even know where. So again, I would invite them to actually contact me directly. It's very easy to get in touch with me, mcasey, C-A-S-E-Y, at jeffersonunion.net. And we can probably have a conversation and figure out, you know, what issues you have and what the truth is to how things have happened. And I just offer that to especially the students or former students that spoke tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. That is all the public comments we have for tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, there is. Okay, do you want me to call them? No.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did speak as well.
Actually, that was one people whose audio was not working.
Oh, Jazz was, our audio wasn't working.
Okay, so I'll recall Jazz. I think I called Russell Lee already before.
Yes, he spoke already.
So just Jazz then, Jake?
Yeah, because her audio was slow. It was,
Okay.
That's right.
I would welcome both comments, but
Hello?
Yes, hi Jazz.
Hi, so I'm Jazz. Actually, I represent for Daly City, since most of you would like to know that. I'm a native of Daly City, Ramaytush Ohlone land, brown, of indigenous descent, and I'm very triggered by this meeting. And I just need to advise you all that white people don't have the right to speak on systemic racism and trauma. And I'm deeply troubled that these are the people representing. No, this is a community garden. Nobody on this board respectfully has spent their time planning in the garden. The community has, and I don't know why you all are treating it like a jail. Like we need to keep community out. Because by the way, community includes students and teachers. The misinformation is because you all have been misinforming. Building housing during these times when folks are being evicted and using teachers and supposedly the Ohlone people to assimilate that is not right. A board member mentioned the board just worked for free. So have the gardeners that have dedicated their lives, time, and resources to this garden. And I just want to say, we actually believe in the same thing, which is that teachers should be paid a livable wage. So you are using that to champion this development. Nobody's against JUHSD or the teachers or against y'all. We are against the community current garden and Westmore Park being destroyed. So let's instead build and bridge community instead of thinking only about ourselves, because there is another way. Sustainability is working directly with the community, not targeting them. I wasn't even going to come in this meeting because I feel targeted by people here, and I feel like community isn't safe, and you guys are bullying community. And also, you talked about loss. The community is going to face trauma for the loss of Garden and Westmore Park in the next 7 generations. We have community members that have told us that these spaces have kept them sane during this pandemic. Children, I've heard young children cry that they haven't been able to get into the garden. I wish I would have recorded it. During these times of loss and pain and economic devastation, let's talk about the school to prison pipeline, like Eva said, and how most of you won't step up to the city council about the police being more funded this year than the school, when young people are being targeted and murdered here. In 6 days, it will be Derek Gaines' birthday. Maybe you guys don't even know who that was. It was a 15-year-old boy that was killed by South City Police. Yeah, it's a city over, but it still matters. He was still a youth that was friends with Daly City youth. We know the youth here. We are the community, and so are you. So please, and like that lady from AFT, I'm sorry, but you are very disrespectful in the way you spoke. No one should reach out to you. Reach out to the Ohlone people, really, and the people that are working on the garden. And I'll say it one more time, white people do not have the right to speak on systemic racism and trauma. I face trauma. And I'm sorry to come like this, but this is how I was gonna come respectfully during the meeting, but you all here, you've been laughing on how you mispronounce people's names. You understand that the indigenous people were killed? This is just another part of erasure. Please, you guys have been colonized as well. Please do your research and really decolonize. This is not right. This is needed for our well-being and for the community, for the youth. that you say you want to serve the teachers. Please, come to the garden and actually see how you feel in there. Don't just go based off this real estate shit.
Thank you for your comments. And that is all the comments we have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Move on to action items. 9A1, Memorandum of Understanding between the JUHSD and International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local Unit 858. Lujan?
Good evening, honorable trustees. At our last meeting, MOU was approved to provide the stipend payment to AFT 1481 unit members for completion of the annual mandated trainings as well as the COVID trainings in the interest of student and staff safety. We would like to offer the same stipend payment to Teamsters, the local Brotherhood of Teamsters as well, and that is what is before you for consideration this evening.
Have any questions? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 9B1, approval of unaudited actuals for fiscal year 2020-2021. Ms. Van Raphorst?
Good evening, President Tejada, members of the board. Each year in September, the school board is asked to approve the district's unaudited financial statement. It's called the unaudited actuals because it's what we will send to the auditors to be audited, but it's actually just a statement of what was spent and what was received in the 2020-2021 school year, and then we'll receive the audit in January. So the report before you shows that we ended up pretty close to where we anticipated. The ending fund balance for the general fund includes about a 10% reserve, and we had projected about 8%. So I'm recommending that the board approve the unaudited actuals with one revision. We realized today that we hadn't charged indirect costs to the special education resource, and we needed to do that. So this resulted in an adjustment of $437,770.81, just between restricted and unrestricted funds. No change to the ending fund balance. So with that, I would see if you have any questions and then recommend approval with that one adjustment.
Any questions? All right, can we have a motion?
Move to approve the unaudited actuals for 2020-2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On to item 9B2, agreement with the JUHSD Educational Housing Corporation. Ms. Van Raphorst?
Thank you. So before the board tonight is an agreement that would govern the relationship between the Jefferson Union High School District and the JUHSD Educational Housing Corporation, or EHC, for short is what I'm calling it. The agreement is, it also outlines the responsibilities of the EHC. So as you probably recall, the EHC is a nonprofit organization that this JUHSD board established to manage the operations of our faculty and staff housing. The agreement before you has been reviewed by myself, our county council, and by all the members of the EHC, and it is now recommended for your approval.
Questions? Mr. Ochapinti?
Yes. So my first question, just for clarity so the public can know, this is the establishment of the Educational Housing Corporation for just the faculty staff housing project.
That's correct.
Thank you. Also, that project is only affordable housing, the only one that was voted on by voters, right?
The faculty and staff housing project was not voted on by voters, but the voters did approve funding for some of that project. It's funded about half of the project.
The bond
The bond
that passed
the
was
bond that passed.
specifically designated for that, is designated for that.
That's correct.
Right, that was the full drive of that bond, correct? The facilities to build staff housing.
Yes.
Okay, just want to clarify that. Thank you. And I guess my third question is, what was the process for selecting the officers of this board? I see that 2 have signed this in addition to members of this board.
It was brought to this body here. It was a resolution, I believe. I put it in the,
Oh, no, I'm familiar that we approved. I'm curious what the process was for selecting those individuals.
this body voted on the members of that committee.
Correct, that's what I just said. We voted on it. What was the process for their selection?
Well, I mean, you guys selected them. We recruited people, and we brought a recommendation to you, but you did the selecting.
Okay, so there was a recruitment process, and then there was a selection process.
Correct.
Okay, I guess my question would be then, who did the recruiting?
It was April Hawkins, when she was here as the Director of Communications and Employee Housing.
And then the selection was done by?
You guys.
No, who selected, who here at the board? You guys is not civic, because I did not select.
The resolution that you adopted in April was the official appointment of the people to their positions at the EHC.
I am perfectly clear on the fact that we approved it. My question is, who selected those two individuals out of the recruitment? Is there a member of the board here who was a part of that process in terms of selecting them?
At that meeting, April had said that she had put out a general, some information out to the community that we needed a certain amount of members for each one, and she got responses from the amounts that she needed. So she got the community members, she got the teacher. I mean, you know, so we just approved who was selected. So she came to us and said, is this okay, or did you want us to go back out? And we all approved it.
No, I'm not questioning her work on that. My question is, in terms of, we have a vice president and a president for a board of directors of an educational housing corporation.
Officers.
Which is, these are officers.
We selected the officers, the membership, all of the people that are in the educational housing, like amongst themselves, they selected their own officers. Is that your question?
Amongst themselves is?
The Educational Housing Corporation Board of Directors that was approved by the JUHSD School Board. So those, 7 people? Those 7 people amongst themselves selected their own officers.
Okay, that was the answer to the question.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the
No,
question.
no worries. I appreciate that. I just want some clarity so I know whose signatures are being here to attest to this. Thank you.
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
9B3, approval of resolution 2021-22/5, establishment of appropriations limit pursuant to Article 13B of the California Constitution. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you, President Tejada. Each year, as part of closing the books for the previous school year, governmental agencies like school districts are required to adopt a resolution that identifies our estimated and actual appropriations and formally adopt our appropriations limit. So the proposed resolution meets this requirement and is recommended for your approval.
Have any questions?
Nope, move that we approve resolution 2020-22/5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consideration of future agenda items. Does anybody have anything for now? No? Mr. Ochapinti?
In terms of how we're broadcasting our meetings, I noticed recently that there was a decision made not to broadcast special meetings and any other meeting outside of a regular board meeting. So I think it would be important to, especially this time as COVID is beginning to increase and we're seeing maybe less people attend in person because perhaps there's a logical concern they shouldn't necessarily attend in person, that we can maybe return to using some of the tools we used prior in the beginning, maybe the pandemic, where people could access it a little easier. My concern is maybe sometimes their connection won't be as solid or they won't be able to access our meetings.
So what, you'd like to discuss that at a future meeting?
I think, well, I raised this before, I think our communications director is probably working on this, so I'll be, interested to hear that when the communications director has a report, or whenever they're presenting, that could be part of it in terms of their observations and how we can improve outreach to the community.
May I ask for clarification?
Yes.
So, it sounds like you wanted to discuss the topic of us broadcasting the meetings differently than we are. Is that correct?
That's one part of it, yes.
So discuss that. Then the second thing is you're waiting for a report from the communications director. I don't think you're working on any report, are you? Okay, so can you clarify that?
Yeah, prior meeting, one of the requests I did have was that, given that we're getting through the beginning of returning to campuses and that there's a lot on all of our plates, as a teacher, I know this firsthand from the work I'm doing. I'm sure with our new COVID director, they're handling a lot on that front, but of course this involves your work. So I would look forward to a report from your angle, your insight, and your work in our district at this level now, along the lines of how we can do better outreach and inclusion of our community, including interpreters at board meetings for access to multiple languages, and in anything else that relates to communications as it pertains to our district as a whole. So, I mean, I would expect just as any other board or as any other district director has something to share with our board and our community, that could be part of that report. Now, if there's nothing scheduled, I would suggest it as a future agenda item and, of course, invite Mr. Warden to speak on that. But in the meantime, I do think that's the work that our district is doing, and I would look forward to a discussion of how we can improve our outreach to the community in terms of how we can make it more accessible, because we can't, I think, logically expect community to show up in person the way we thought we could before Delta.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds to me like Mr. Achapinti would like an item on a board agenda to discuss how we're broadcasting our meetings for discussion. And then what I just need direction on from the board is whether I am to require a report about communications from our communications director. So I'm not clear on what the board is directing me to direct my staff to do, and if there is a direction from the board.
Well, this is just a future agenda item, so.
Well, it sounds like there was one clear request to discuss how we are broadcasting our meetings. That's very clear to me.
Right.
That you're requesting that we put an agenda item about that. But the second request was lengthy, and it sounds like you want some sort of report about communications. And so I just don't.
Respectfully, we talked about this at a prior meeting, but I'll just, again, refresh. At some point, I'm sure that, the warden will offer something to our board in terms of an update on communications. Communications is a big part of our strategic plan and our planning and our priorities as a goal, as a board goal. It always has been since I've been on board. So in terms of district communication, at a time like this where our students have relied on distance learning for over a year and a half, and of course our community in order to keep in touch and even keep up on parent view and those things, those are all parts that I'm sure part and parcel of the job. But I'm just curious to see how we could better improve outreach. And so it's not necessarily a specific request, because I'm not giving direction to our communications director. I'm asking for maybe his feedback or anybody's feedback on these issues so that we can make some progress on that, because I think the community definitely wants to be in touch with what we're doing as a district and all the services we provide, including COVID testing and everything else. But I would expect that in some form that would come from the department in our district.
I'm just trying to be clear on what you're requesting. A report about how we can do better on communications?
Just in terms of the status of our communications and what kind of feedback we're getting from the community and, of course, our families in terms of what they would look for. And, of course, in making it multilingual so that we can have community access to these board meetings at the very least, if not expanded access to the sites. Yeah, is that clear?
Not totally, but we can, I'm not totally clear on what the request is. I think that you would like a report about what the community would like in communications. I'm sorry, I'm not clear on the action that you're asking me
All
to
right,
take.
it's just a suggestion, not an action. So, Ms. Salahuddin?
So I think, one, just to clarify too, this is a superintendent goal and that for communication, and I'm thinking maybe to get an update maybe on like social media hits, like what we're putting out on social media, or just to give some more specific things so that they come. So because my fear is that they'll do a bunch of work and come back and it's not really hitting the items that you want to hit. So and I know this is all brand new. I know we're all doing new things. So we were looking for like some information on how many people are actually opening the superintendent report, and then I know there's ways to track, like, did they actually read it?
Yeah.
And other information on, I know we had a report, and it doesn't have to be now, but I know we did have a report at one time from each school and how many hits that each of the individual schools, when they sent out communication, the ways that they sent out communication and how it was open and responsive. So there's some ways to track that, but I don't know, it's kind of early, so I don't know if we want to have a marker, like track what's happening now and then see what the work and just, a direction to start that data collection. The other piece is that in going to some of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative meetings, they do use, and I keep forgetting to get the interpreters' names, but they do use an interpretation service that has been really impressive to me. And I need to figure out, like, I can get the information and see how the cost, and I don't know if it needs to be every meeting, but perhaps meetings when we know that somebody wants to come that is where English is not their first language or they would need some help, there might be an avenue to use, so I can send that on. But this is just more suggestions on things that could possibly come up, but I don't know I'm not sure of the value of having it now, since it's so early in the school year. The other thing that I was going to suggest for future agenda items is if we could have a discussion about consent and when we pull things off of consent, and some discussion around that. Discussion on approval of minutes and get some more guidelines around approval of minutes, because I know that we've had some talking in meetings and there's unclear, so it'd just be clear to just have that discussion and get some ground rules on that. And I also would like we have not had a meeting here to acknowledge all the work that a lot of our school district employees had done through COVID in the community. So the amazing work that was going on at Jefferson with the food bank and all those volunteers from multiple schools. I mean, that was so uplifting to see teachers and staff from Oceana, from Thornton, from Jeff, and students all working together at the food bank. And then I also, we now do have, the county did step up and they have a testing site that they fully staff at Jefferson now. But I would like to bring in the ladies that volunteered throughout the summer, who just did incredible work and really helped put the trust out there to get people to start getting tested, because they were there and they knew they were a trusted source. And so to bring them in to get some acknowledgement from us is something I keep forgetting to ask for, I think would be great.
We'll discuss in agenda
Yeah, we
planning.
can talk more about the
Okay. Get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, he beat me. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.